game, the ultimate. Well, welcome to the Jay Thomas Show. This one for a Tuesday afternoon. Gorgeous day, too. As always, a bunch of topics to toss out. We hope you respond to them. Okay, I'm back. Got to give Kyle his pre-show list. All right.
I've got the map for today's show.
You got the map. Saturday, Bonanzaville, USA. You know what happens?
Antiques Roadshow.
5,000 tickets. It is going to be crazy around here. 5,000 of them. We're going to talk to Brenda Warren, the executive director of Bonanzaville, just how they're going to set this whole thing. Because the first thing came to my mind, parking. Where?
Did you get a ticket?
No, I never did. Did you get one?
No, I didn't. I tried, but I...
You did try to get one.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a no-go? They were already sold out, or what happened?
I signed up to be in the raffle to get one when it was announced.
Okay.
Months ago.
Talked to Brenda this morning. And she said they have people coming up from all over the place, Tennessee, all over the country. It's going to be crazy out there. So we're going to talk to her a little bit later on. Hey, believe it or not, just a couple weeks away is the first West Fargo cruise night of the summer. And that draws people from all over the region. I'm constantly being asked what's going on with the construction down there. How's the cruise night going to work this year? Melissa Richard, Communications Director, City of West Fargo, about 4:40 this afternoon. She'll join us, and we'll get all those details. All right, as always, 293-9000, toll-free 1-888-970-9329. Email is talk@wday.com. You can also text the program with that same address. Just put it in where you put the phone number and hit send. We got some fun stuff to yak about this afternoon. All right, usually we do it on Mondays, but of course we were all off on Monday. We do our it's called the North Dakota Weekly Update with Rob Board, sayanythingblog.com. Also, columnist for Forum Communications and what is becoming the world-famous podcaster, Rob Ports. That's Plain Talk. You can check that out at sayblog.com or wherever on the fancy phone you go to get the apps.
Regionally famous might be the
regionally.
I don't want to oversell. I don't want to gild the lily, as it were.
You don't want to what? Say that again.
Gild the lily, I guess. I don't know.
I think you said kill the lily.
Gild. I don't know.
Oh, gild. That's Kyle, exactly what I thought he said at first, but Kyle just said something in my ear that I thought you said at first, but I didn't want to say it on the air, so I just kind of worked it another way. Hey, buddy, did you have the big extended weekend or what?
Yeah. Took all the way through Monday off. Had a good time. I was working though late a little bit Friday evening because we had those referendums filed for three different pieces of legislation that came out of this 2019 session. I think we're going to talk a little bit about that. Had a good weekend overall.
We are going to talk about that, and of course, we're going to talk about the one he tossed out last week, the day after I had you on the program, and that is police uniforms and I don't know if you want to call it politics, policies, whatever. We'll get to that one as well because I said, I cannot wait till next week we get Rob Port on. We got to talk about this.
I don't even understand why that's controversial. Like, I don't understand why. Just don't wear a uniform when you're going to do politics.
Well, I don't understand why you got a problem with it. But we'll get into that one. Let's.
Right.
And then you just tossed out another one. I was just reading it before we came on the air. You just popped this thing up about 2 hours ago, but I just caught it. And talking about maybe we should spend less on arresting drunk drivers and more on getting them home safe.
Yeah.
And I like where you're going with this.
Sure.
And we'll just hit this one real quick. Explain to folks what you're talking about. You're kind of talking about, hey, look, you got Uber, you got Lyft, and you're showing some stats out there where it looks like out of Bismarck, the most recent crime report, drunk driving arrests are down, way down.
Yeah, like 35%, more than a third down.
Wow.
Now, we don't know if that's entirely or partially Uber and Lyft. I think part of this has to be, it would be nice to do a study. Like let's get some like real good rigorous data behind this to find out, are these rideshare programs helping people not drive drunk?
I think they are.
I agree with you. I think that they are. I want more than anecdotes, though. What I would like to do first is let's get some hard study. Let's look at Fargo. Let's look at Bismarck, Grand Forks, Minot, where these rideshare programs are available, and let's figure it out. Let's have they resulted in lower rates of drunk driving? If that's the case, I think we could then turn around and use that policy and say, hey, if we put everything we've been doing on drunk driving so far is all, in terms of the carrot and stick approach, has all been on the stick side. It's all been tougher penalties, more restrictions, everything else. What if we did something on the carrot side?
Okay, what would you like to do on the carrot side? Because explain to me, would you like to see funding spent for advertising? Hey, look, there's options out there. What would you like to see done on the carrot side?
I don't know. I think there's a lot of things. I'm open to it. What I would like to do is just start the debate. I think you're right. I think maybe raising some public awareness. I think maybe having some programs in the bar where maybe like the bar can, if you don't really know how to use the app or whatever, maybe the bar can summon a ride service like that. Maybe there's some sort of integration like that. Maybe we can tap beyond Uber and Lyft and some of those services, but some of our existing taxi companies, maybe there's something we can do with them. Maybe there's shuttles. And also I'm thinking, places like Fargo, West Fargo, Grand Forks, our bigger communities, we have those services available. Remember, a lot of the smaller communities, the rural communities too, are there options we could do there? Are there shuttle services? Are there like citizen programs where maybe people volunteer to drive people home? I mean, this could be really something that's good, because to me, I think sometimes we spend so much time talking about arrests and people are angry at drunk, and rightfully so. Driving drunk is a stupid thing to do. I did it once. I got busted. It's a dumb thing to do. I'm humiliated and ashamed.
I did 2 years ago. Yeah.
So that is what it is. But the thing is, the goal is not to see how many people we can arrest. The goal is safe roads.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, maybe there's if Uber and Lyft coming into our state can prove the concept that having better access to safe ride homes means more people will take safe ride homes, means fewer drunks on the road, means fewer arrests, means fewer cases in our criminal justice system. Why not do that?
All right, let me what do we got? 213. Yeah, okay. What would be interesting, Rob Port, would be to see. No, let's not forget we have Minnesota as well. I like to see the numbers in Minnesota as well, because we of course, broadcast a blast into Minnesota as well. It would be interesting to see if we could somehow get numbers to see where a majority of DUI arrests are happening in North Dakota, and let's say Minnesota for that fact. You know what I'm getting at? Because what I'm getting at is you have Bismarck, Grand Forks, Fargo, West Fargo, Moorhead. You have these big communities that have Lyft, have Uber, maybe both or one or the other, and then compare. You know what I'm saying? To see where granted the population is going to be more here, but you could figure out the numbers as to it looks like it's more of a problem when you get in the rural areas.
Yeah, where is it happening? What time of the day is it happening?
Yeah.
I mean, exactly. And maybe that's something. Maybe the state of North Dakota, maybe we take some of the money we spend on DUI enforcement. Maybe we could quit doing sobriety checkpoints, take some of that money we save, and say, we'll give everybody one voucher a month between this hour and this hour for a safe ride home.
Now, when it comes to bars, because I really very seldom do I go into a bar anymore, but I do believe there are bars, at least here in Fargo.
Yeah.
I got to believe it's same in Bismarck, Grand Forks, Minot, Moorhead. There are bars, I believe, that will get you a safe ride home. Now, I don't know if they pay for it or not. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that's a phone call. So if anybody out there listening right now to Rob and I, if you know anything more about what these bars do, are there actual bars out there that, hey, look, Patriot is drunk, they will take care of that ride home? 293-9000, toll free 1-888-970-9329. Email or text us talk@wday.com. Because, like I said, I know that there's bars that will make the call. I don't know if they pay for the ride or not.
Yeah. I just think there's things we could do there. Because, again, you point to me. If Uber and Lyft, Bismarck as an example that I use in my post today at sayanythingblog.com, a more than one-third drop in DUI
That's
arrests.
Big.
So
That's big.
You show me the DUI policy that has resulted in that sort of a decline in DUI arrests. If it's safe ride homes that are doing it, let's put more resources there. Let's figure that out.
All right. Also, we'll ask the listeners this question, too. If you want to jump in, we love when you jump in. Love the phone calls. Why do you think DUIs are down? I think it's a little bit of everything, Rob.
Sure.
But I do.
There's always a lot of variables. Yeah.
I do think one of the biggest factors, is the fact that it's easier to get a ride now from the bars. It really is.
I think
because at least here in Fargo, I know years ago before we got Uber and Lyft here, and this is nothing against the taxi companies because they were running by themselves, and I believe the rules here for taxi companies in Fargo were pretty strict. It was tough to get a ride after bar close. It was really hard to get a cab, and that's gone away. All right, more with Rob Port, your phone calls. I'd love for you to jump in on our conversation. That's why we do it. 293-9000. Talk at WDAY.com to get a text message to us or an email. More with Rob Port, savingblog.com. Columnist Forum Communications and host of Plain Talk when we come back on the Jay Thomas Show.
On the drive home, get caught up on the day's news with 970 WDAY AM and 93.1 FM. Tune in at 5 for a full half hour of local news and weather.
Here's what we're tracking tonight.
ABC World News Now at 5:30.
Tonight, several developing stories as we come on the air.
And WDAY News at 6.
Good evening, everyone.
It's a full 90-minute block of nothing but news. Weekday afternoons beginning at 5 on 970 WDAY AM and 93.1 FM.
221 Jay Thomas Show, live from the Miller High Life studio. Hey, don't forget your favorite liquor store. See that Jay Thomas little sweet cutout. Get a picture with it and get it sent in to me either through Twitter, Facebook. You can email it to me. Or you can hashtag the J Life. And each week we pick a winner. Gets a bunch of nice swag from Miller High Life and Beverage Wholesalers. And we pick a winner every Thursday. Lots of picks coming in, people having fun with it. Appreciate that. All right, 293-9000 is the phone number. Email or text us, talk.wday.com. Rob Porter Weekly Chat. Usually do it on Mondays, but of course it's Tuesday today, but this is our Monday. We're talking about maybe we should spend less on arresting drug drivers and more on getting them home safe. Article Rob popped up a couple hours ago. And we're asking, because I don't know, I really don't hang in the bars too often anymore. I don't know if the bars, what they offer, that's what we're talking about, what they offer patrons. Big Herbs and Horse, listener email says, used to pay for the ride share where they would drive you in your vehicle home. He says, I'm assuming they still do it. It's interesting. When you wake up now, Rob, on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, and you go on about, you got to go to the store, whatever, early, it's amazing when you drive by the liquor establishments how many vehicles have had sleepovers.
Yeah,
a lot more now than there used to be,
and that's a good thing. That's
a
good thing. That's a wonderful thing. Yeah,
yeah. I think there's I do think, and I know you don't like checkpoints, but I don't have a problem with them. I don't know how much they help. We do know that they do get people off the road because there are people in these checkpoints that are caught, shouldn't be driving. But I think like smoking, drinking and driving it's always been taboo. It's something you shouldn't do, but I think it's ever more so now. And just the fact that we live in a social media world, I think that actually deters people as well because they don't want to be the next one all over Facebook or Twitter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the fact that we do have these programs like Lyft and Uber, I think that's really changed things.
And it needs to be a combination of both. I mean, I'm all for enforcement. If you do the crime, you're going to do the time. I don't have any problem with that. I'm just wondering, it seems like there's a real opportunity if we make it easier to get home safe. I think there's a lot of people that'll choose that option. And but the thing is it needs to be quick. You know, you can't have them standing around when they decide it's time to go home. Nobody wants to stand around for an hour waiting. They're just going to end up getting in the car. And that's a dumb thing. I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying that's probably what's going to happen. And it needs to be cost effective. It needs to be cheap. Now that's what like Uber and those. It's cheap. It's cheap to get home. It's fast. They come right to you. It's a good thing all the way around. So
depending on the time of the night you're using, because I've heard people say they've taken a drive from their home to downtown Fargo and it cost them like $10 on Uber. Then they go to leave at bar close and it's almost $100. But still, $100 is cheaper than losing your license and
It's
getting to do it.
and cheaper than the fines and the insurance hike and everything else that you're going to get along with that. So it is. But the thing is maybe there's some things we could do. That bar close, if it's $100 at bar close, maybe there's something we could do. Is there something we could do to get more drivers on the road? Is there something we could do to have more services available? I'm not saying that Uber and Lyft are the solution either. I mean, maybe there's community based, maybe there's other businesses. I don't know. But how about we shift focus to that for a while? We've been on the enforcement end for a long time, raising penalties, raising fines, putting more cops out there, doing more enforcement. How about we try the carrot approach for a little while?
Mm-hmm. Actually, I'm with you on it. I am. Okay. Let's hit this next one. All right, we got 3 petitions filed. These are not initiated measures, right? These are to
referendums.
Referendums. Okay. Explain what these would do. I believe we, the people of North Dakota, would vote and say, yes, we do want the funding for Theodore Roosevelt. We don't. Explain what's going on here. I know this guy, this led by, what is this, Riley Kunz Dickinson?
Yeah.
Is this guy a lawmaker or anything, or is he just a citizen out there?
I think he's just a dude.
Okay, just a dude.
Concerned citizen. So, all right, so the difference between an initiated measure and a referendum. Initiated measure is you're initiating new law. So you're going to legislate. Like it's law that doesn't already exist. You're going to create it at the ballot box with the measure. What a referendum is essentially a veto, which means the legislative process has taken place. They've passed a law, but now you can refer it to the ballot, and if the people vote it down, it's vetoed, essentially.
All right.
That's the referendum. So what they want to do is they are taking aim at 3 specific policies that the legislature passed. They want the auditor issue that you and I have been discussing quite a bit. And
I'm with them on the auditors.
Right. So they want that, and they want to give the auditor back his powers. They want the legislators passed a law. Currently, legislative emails, you can't put in an open records request for legislative emails. But if a legislator sends an email to somebody in the Department of Motor Vehicles, for example, you could put in a request for the DMV emails and get the legislator email that way. They want to shut that down.
Okay.
So they want to shut down that side of it. So that's another one they're referring, and I agree with that too. I think the exemptions are broad enough for open records. I don't think they need any more. Then the last one is the Theodore Roosevelt National Park. Now this one's a little tricky though, because lawmakers are telling me they put in an emergency clause on this, which said that it went into effect right away. Now most of the time when you refer a law, if you get it on the ballot, the law is not implemented until basically the issue's settled, right?
Okay.
So the law basically gets put on hold until we hold the vote, unless they put in an emergency clause, which apparently they did with the Teddy Roosevelt funding. So there's kind of a side issue there where they don't really have to stop going ahead with fundraising and everything. They can kind of just push ahead even as it's being referred. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But that's the third one that they're referring is the funding for the Teddy Roosevelt Library, and I don't agree with that one at all.
Don't understand why they're. I'm not understanding why people are so upset about this Theodore Roosevelt Library. Number one, it's not a library; it's a damn museum, and I do think that this would bring a lot of money into North Dakota.
It's a relatively modest. What the taxpayers would put in would be a fraction of what the private sector would put in. Listen, it's a small price to pay to have another tourism attraction in the state of North Dakota. It would be a lot of fun. It's a good thing. And I mean, even as a fiscal conservative, the government has a role to play when it comes to preserving history. This is a part of that. Teddy Roosevelt's era was an important part of an important chapter of history for our country. You know, we could be doing a better job of preserving it.
This is evidently way off the topic. This gentleman listener wants to toss this into the mix. Got to go quick. Rick in Wapaton. What is this, grain tariffs? Is that what you want to talk about?
Yeah, I was just going to say that back, I think about a year ago, you had Eugene Grainer on talking about tariffs. And I was just wondering, this is for Rob.
Yeah.
Are you going to be doing anything on a follow-up to that anytime soon? I'd really like to hear something. I didn't see anything on your site, so in your sayanythingblog.com site.
You know what? I should get Gene on the podcast. That's a great idea. I'll see what his availability is. We'll see if we can schedule that maybe this week or the next.
Cool. Awesome.
Rick, before I let you go, I got to ask, these tariffs, are they affecting you? You a farmer?
I am not. I have a family, whatever, and they're concerned, but they're also kind of the whole thing of, when are we ever going to fight it? We got to fight it sometime.
Yep, yeah, exactly. Or we're just going to keep getting we're going to be taken advantage of by China. Somebody's got to step up and do something.
And there's so much high talking on each side, but let's get to the brass tacks. And Eugene laid it out really great a year ago. I know when Rob had him on.
Yeah, I remember when you had him on, Rob. Hey, Rick, appreciate the phone call. Good catch on that one. Listen, Rob, I know you're a busy guy, but we got to talk about this uniform thing. Can you hang out?
Let's do it.
Oh, brother. Okay. We'll do it next when we come back on the Jay Thomas Show. Weekly chat with Rob Port. Rob, a story last week, a little upset about law enforcement wearing their uniforms. Specifically pointed out
upset's the wrong word for it. I just didn't think it was very appropriate.
Commission was working on the raise and doing the whole raise thing for law enforcement and firefighters. A lot of police officers were there in uniform. We'll hit that one next, Jay Thomas Show. It's Stormy Daniels' lawyer. What's Avenatti?
Avenatti.
Yeah,
yes.
you know the he could be looking at 300 plus years in jail. Good God. Jay Thomas Show. 240.
Memories overtaking me. I try to face them, but thoughts too much to conceive.
I mean, honestly, poor this guy. This guy is trying to extort $20 million out of Nike.
Out of Nike. What do you think is going to happen? It's like one of the most powerful corporations in the world, and you're going to do what? I mean, you're going to shake them down? Come on.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, what makes it even funnier is that you're going to shake down Nike for $20 million, which is like shaking me down for $1.
Right.
You just tossed your entire life.
That's probably what he was hoping. It was probably. I mean, would you give somebody $1 to go away? I mean, maybe.
Well, no, I won't say because then people will be hitting me up. No, Kyle, I'm not giving you $1. Kyle wants $5.
Hey, Jay, do you have $1?
Kyle wants $5. Hey, regarding we'll get to this police uniform thing. Regarding the museum, Theodore Roosevelt. It might be an attraction for summer guys for summer months, but it will fall flat on its face in the winter. Well, here's the thing. I think that the thing during the spring, well, if we get springs anymore around here, summer, fall, I think is going to do enough where a wintertime, if it falls flat, it's not going to matter. It's going to make up its money in those tourism months.
Right. And it doesn't, remember, I mean, it's inside, so it's not like it needs to be super nice. So the tourism months are going to be extended for it. It's not going to be that far off I-94. It's going to be in Medora. And, frankly, Medora is an important attraction for the state, for the whole state. And, it's going to make Medora maybe a little more resilient in terms of a tourism destination year-round. So there's plenty of accessibility to it year-round.
And I believe that $50 million, the state does not kick that in until the
it's got to be matched.
The group's got to be matched. No, the group's got to raise $100 million before ours kick in.
Right. Well, that's what I meant. Yeah. The private money's got to be raised. They got to hit the private goal before the state money kicks in. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Rob, you dropped this bomb. Of course, you did it the day after we do our weekly chats. So I had to wait a whole week.
I don't think it was a bomb. I don't even think it's that controversial.
It came out of well, let me tell you, on this program, we had fun with it because we'd have figured that, well, maybe in Rob's world, then because you'd wrote about, okay, don't show up uniform if you guys want to have all matching T-shirts or whatever. So we came up with the idea that, well, maybe they should wear concert T-shirts that have a law enforcement theme to them. And oh my God, the listeners had some great ideas.
Well, why not?
Metallica, Justice for All.
Well, maybe I don't know. I mean, sure, that's fine. I mean, if they want to communicate, the fact that they're in the audience and they're paying attention. Fine, that's great. They have the same rights as the rest of us. Just don't use their taxpayer-funded uniforms for it.
Okay, so if people don't know what we're talking about, last week, Rob, and this is a follow-up you did to this, I was critical of members of the Fargo Police Department for showing up en masse and in uniform to a meeting for the Fargo City Commission at which a pay raise for cops was being decided. That's what started this whole thing.
Yeah.
And then you had, last week, you had, I think it's Waylon, is it Heegard?
Hedegaard?
Hedegaard, yeah, head of the North Dakota chapter of the AFL-CIO. He jumped in on the conversation, accused you of wanting to suppress the First Amendment rights of police officers, and you go on.
Which is not true.
That's not what you were doing.
No.
I mean, He was really stretching on that.
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with them organizing. I don't have a problem with them having their say. Just do it on your own time and your own clothes. That's it.
Okay, let's get into the uniform thing because I read it and went, come on, Rob, really? What? I mean, I do not, and let me be upfront. People already know this, but for anybody new listening,
you don't like it when people are critical of law enforcement.
I am a big supporter of law enforcement. I don't have a problem if people are being critical of law enforcement, if it's something that, law enforcement is doing that they shouldn't be doing. For me, I don't, and this is my opinion, and if you folks want to jump in, you're more than happy to. I'm trying to put this right. You have a problem with law enforcement wearing their uniforms for anything that is political, or that you think might be intimidating to somebody when they're off duty. Am I saying that right?
I think it could be intimidating. I have had lawmakers, and this is dating back. Former House Majority Leader John Dorso said that they were once voting on it was some sort of a pension, and this was like back in the 90s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah, this was years ago.
But they were voting on it was something related to the pensions for the Highway Patrol, and the Highway Patrol officers came and they sat up in the gallery in their uniforms and stared down at the lawmakers. He said, it was intimidating. Now, I don't know. I don't know. I've never been a policymaker, and I don't know what their intent was. But whether it's intimidating or not, people are getting really hung up on that. I do think when a bunch of officers show up, the whole point of the uniform is to be intimidating. And it should be intimidating in a professional setting when the law enforcement guys are doing their job. We give them the uniform because it projects authority. It projects power. Right? It's the law enforcement. They show up on the scene. It's a chaotic situation a lot of the time. The uniforms show up. It's supposed to have a calming effect, right? It's supposed to project authority into that situation. So when they wear that into a city council chamber where elected officials are debating their pay and they're all sitting there staring at the elected officials while they're going about their job and they're debating this issue and they're voting on it, yeah, I think it could be a little intimidating.
Okay. Let me stop you there. You go on last week to say, look, if y'all wanted to get together and, I'll go have T-shirts made that,
Sure.
have maybe a badge or something on it. You have no problem with that. Okay, let me stop you before you jump in. I'm going to give you your say on it. Okay. I'm checking something online here on TV.
Right.
It's I'll doing 3 things saying I shouldn't be doing that. Why wouldn't that be just as intimidating, Rob?
Well, it's not a uniform.
Well, if you are a city council member or a lawmaker and a law enforcement officer is sitting in on a commission meeting, or on a legislative situation, and they have their uniform on and you're intimidated by that, maybe you shouldn't be holding that office.
I don't think that's right.
How is it more intimidating than the same people having the same T-shirts on? They're law enforcement officers.
So, except for the T-shirts don't come with guns and body armor and the authority that the uniform. But again, I think we're getting hung up on this. Let me ask you this question: do you think all those officers were off duty, wearing their uniforms off duty?
I called the police chief. I called Chief David Todd, and a majority of those officers were off duty. They were just because of when the meeting took place and because it was the first agenda for that night. A lot of them came in right after their shift, did not have time, and they asked the chief. I talked to him today. They asked the chief if it was okay if they came with uniform because fact that it was the first thing on the agenda, they would not have had time to get back either to home or to the department and change into their street clothes.
Then Chief Todd made a mistake. He should not have done that. Other law enforcement agencies in the state have prohibitions on this. The United States military has a prohibition about showing up to a protest or showing up to any sort of a political function or governing function unless you're in some sort of an official capacity. You leave the uniform at home. Now these cops are showing up for this was in their own. They were obviously interested in their pay raises. And by the way, I supported their pay raises. I'm not quibbling with the outcome of the vote at all.
Yeah.
But they were showing up. To make their presence known and to listen, and they were doing that on their own time. They should have left the uniforms at home. Now, if I showed up, let's say for a minute that I did oppose. Hold on, Jay. Let me finish making my point.
Okay.
Let's say that I opposed the pay raise, and I wanted to show up and advocate for that. I don't have the power of a uniform to show up in. If I wanted to get. Okay, well that's me specifically. If I'm just a member of Joe Schmo Public who doesn't have a radio show or a blog or anything like that, and I wanted to show up and make my voice heard, I don't have the uniform. Right. That is a taxpayer-funded uniform. It is an advantage, and they shouldn't use it for political purposes.
Do you really think that uniform, those officers wearing that uniform in that Fargo City Commission meeting, intimidated those commissioners?
If it doesn't have an effect, then why do they? It wasn't just this one committee hearing. They do it over and over and over again. And it's not just this one. They do it at the legislature when we were debating civil asset forfeiture laws. The committee hearings were consistently packed with cops. Not cops who were testifying, not police chiefs who were there weighing in on the issue, just packed with rank-and-file cops who had a point of view on it.
And you
if you want to engage in politics, take the uniform off. Why is this so controversial?
Well, I want to know why you think it's so intimidating. You have lawmakers and you have commissioners.
Well, ask them.
How many of these commissioners? No, I'm sorry, not commissioners. Lawmakers, other than Dorso. You said Dr. Dorso, and that was what was he back in the 90s? I think when
80s,
Dorso,
90s, yeah.
80s, 90s. During this last legislative session, in every legislative session, we have a lot of laws that they're coming up regarding law enforcement or
and cops, like any other group of bureaucrats, like to protect their territory, like to protect their bottom line. I mean,
did you have lawmakers come to you from this legislative session and say, Rob, I really had a problem with law enforcement out here in Bismarck with their uniforms on?
Yes.
You did.
They didn't. Well, and most of their complaints, it wasn't really the intimidating factor in that one. I mean, the intimidating factor, that was really something Dorso said. This time around, they were wondering, are all these people on duty? And if they're not on duty, why are they wearing their uniforms?
Can't they represent the business or the establishment they work for?
Absolutely, without their uniforms.
Without the uniform, but you're okay with a T-shirt if that T-shirt said. What if that T-shirt?
Well, yeah, said, with the T-shirt
Fargo
because they
police
have
officer.
The cops have group. They have their fraternal order. They belong to labor organizations. I mean, if they wanted to or if they just wanted to form like an ad hoc pack or something like that, the cops have the same right to organize as the rest of us. They just should not be using taxpayer resources, whether it's their squad cars or they're handing out flyers while they're out patrolling or their uniforms. They should not be using those resources to advocate for what are personal, private positions on public policy.
Would you feel differently about that if they came with their uniform on, but no gun belts, no guns, no?
They shouldn't wear the uniform. Period.
Nothing to do with the uniform. But
wear your own clothes.
Okay. Hold on, Rob. Let me take a quick break here. We'll wrap things up. Folks, if you want to jump in, 293-9000, toll-free 1-888-970-9329. Email talk@wday.com. Again, I have no problem with this whatsoever. If they want to show up, because they're getting.
I'm not surprised. Have we run into anything the cops do that you have a problem with?
Actually, yeah, I've gone off on a couple of things. I have a real problem with the way law enforcement, Rob, has handled the Andrew Sadek situation.
Right, fair enough.
I think that is a complete ball drop by law enforcement. I really do, and I think that judge also has really dropped the ball in that. Yeah, I mean, I'll get on them, but for the most part, I just think that for me, this is just. It's their uniform. I don't understand how sitting at a commission meeting is that intimidating. Hold on, Rob. We come back. We'll grab some calls here. Greg, you'll be first up on the phones when we come back. We'll wrap things up. Jay Thomas Show. Oh, we only got a couple minutes here left. RobPorsettiBlog.com. Columnist Forum Communications, of course, host of his very popular Plain Talk podcast. We'll find out what's coming up on the next one. We're talking about Rob's article last week. Feels that it doesn't feel he just law enforcement should not be wearing their uniforms when it comes to anything, I guess, political, right, Rob? Is that how we put a political policy or politics?
Well, to me, I don't draw a distinction. It's all the same. Politics is the manner through which we make policy.
Okay, let me grab Greg here. Greg, you're up on the Jay Thomas Show.
Hi, Jay.
Hey.
Just a quick comment. I sit in the legislature. Been there for 2 terms. Every session we have multiple groups come in and testify with their uniforms on, the sheriff's department, police departments, fire departments, Native American tribes. And if you're intimidated by any type of action like that, you should not be in there.
You're
that's
full
my
of
only
You're full of it.
Pardon me?
That's a bunch of baloney.
No, it's not.
Cops. I'm not talking about sheriffs coming in and testifying in a official capacity or police officers in official capacity. I'm talking about the off-duty guys. I'm talking about the people there on their own time who are putting on the uniform for a purpose because they're trying to send a message. It's inappropriate. It's a taxpayer resource. If they're on their own time, leave it at home.
Okay, I sat on a school board for 9 years, too, and I've had teachers come in when we're making a decision on teacher pay, and I'm not intimidated by that. I sit on a hospital board where I dictate
teachers aren't
doctors'
armed.
pay, and they...
Our doctors aren't armed. Law enforcement officers, by the nature of their job, are imbued with a level of authority that other sorts of people in our society don't have. Cops can shoot you. Cops can beat you up. Cops can put their handcuffs on you and throw you in a squad car. These are powers we gave them. They can, Jay. They have the power for force. They can absolutely use this force, and that power is represented by the uniform. So if they want to engage in politics, leave the uniform at home.
You're ridiculous. You really are.
No,
thank you. Bye-bye.
Not ridiculous at all. What's ridiculous? What's ridiculous are the people who are so subservient to the cops.
Who's
who are just so completely deferential. It's only the most egregious of circumstances that anybody will ever be critical of.
Well, yeah,
this was modest criticism. I wasn't in opposition to their pay raise. I'm just saying that if you're going to advocate for a policy position as a private citizen that's not a part of your official duties as a law enforcement officer, leave your uniform at home. And other law enforcement agencies, by the way, like the Bismarck Police Department, as one example, have exactly that policy in place. All I'm saying is the Fargo Police Department is wrong for not having that policy in place. It doesn't mean they're bad people or anything like that.
Okay, Rob, let me ask you this then, okay? Oh, and we're out of time. Great. If this is such a bad thing, why hasn't there been any outcry from Fargo City commissioners or the public? I think you're making a mountain out of a molehill.
I don't know. Maybe I am. I just think it's inappropriate.
No.
And listen, I've also had at least a dozen current and former law enforcement officers contact me and say they agree.
Well, I'm quite sure, just like you've had others disagree, just like me. I've had.
So there's lots of point of view on this. Yeah, we disagree. That's all it is. There's lots of points of view on this. I have one. I don't think it's appropriate for law enforcement to use their uniforms for politics.
And I have one too. Mine's right. Hey,
what's not?
What's coming up on the podcast? Next podcast. Got to go quick. Got like 10 seconds.
We're trying to get Eugene Grainer on, Kramer and Armstrong on like they usually are for the rest of the week.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next Monday. News next.